and humor in everyday talk. So, again, good day. Before we start, let us go over to our learning objectives for today's discussion on language and humor. By the end of this lesson, you should able to first define and explain key concepts related to gender and humor in everyday communication. Identify and categorize at least three distinct ways men and women use humor differently in conversations based on given examples or excerpts. Next is analyze and interpret real life or media based examples of humor to understand how gender influences its purpose, tone, and effect in communication. Now, before we move into the theories, let us first understand what we mean by language, humor, and how they work together. So, language is not just a tool for communication, it reflects how we think, behave, and connect with others. Through language, we express our ideas, emotions, and even our identities. So, humor, on the other hand, is a special way of using language to create laughter, to amuse, or to give joy to something. It can be expressed through jokes, teasing, wordplay, or sarcasm. But humor isn't only about being funny, it is also a powerful social tool and it helps people build relationship, release tension, and sometimes even express criticism in a lighter way. Now, when language and humor come together, we get this what we call playful talk. This is where people use words in fun, creative, or exaggerated way that aren't meant to be taken seriously. The key here is that both the speaker and the listener understand what is being said and what is meant playfully, not literally. For example, if a friend says, "Wow, artista na ka," ang dami mo ng followers. They are not seriously calling the person a celebrity. It is a playful way of teasing, showing closeness and familiarity. So, nana ba mo ing ana? If naa, then go. Nana may humor. Now, moving on, according to Bateson 1953, humor happens within what we call play frame. This is a shared understanding between people that what is being said is not serious. Inside the play frame, almost everything can be funny depending on how people understands it. Another party says that Boxer and Cortez Cond in 1997 defined this as a play frame created by the participants with a backdrop of in-group knowledge. So magkasinabot daw mo ana sa play frame if ever imong kauban or imong kaistorya is na may close-knit interaction. In other words, humor often works best among people who share common experiences, language, or culture. For instances, people humor often includes inside jokes like hugot lines or cultural references that only the circle fully understand. For example, sa amo ni Elser, pag maingon mi nga ka ng, uy, nasi ano o, nasi ano. So we're referring, like kami rin makasabot ana. And that how a play frame work and yeah, being acted. For a play frame to work, people must cooperate, as Holmes and Hayes says on 2003, that successful humor is a joint construction involving both the speaker and the audience. This means both sides need to recognize that humor is being used and agree to keep it playful. Next, examples of language and humor. So we will be having an example. So humor often lies in the difference between what is said and what is the reality or what it's really meant. Like for example, a Filipino might said, "Ay artista day kakadaghan ba nimo followers, di ba ganina?" So which is a joke, not a serious statement. So, to summarize it up, language and humor work hand in hand to build connection and express emotion. Humor creates a play frame where people can communicate freely and creatively. And when we look at gender, we'll see that men and women often use humor differently to bond, tease, or show emotion, depending on the context and relationship. So that ends my discussion on language and humor. So if you're wondering what is the connection between the language and humor in the gender, We will be having a separate um, discussion towards that by our next reporter.
Hello, everyone. I will be reporting the gender and humor. In the past, people often believed that men and women had very different senses of humor. Many thought that women were not as funny as men, but this idea came from stereotypes and male centered views of what is considered funny. For example, men's humor often focus on jokes, punchlines, and competitions, while women's humor was more on storytelling and connecting with others. Next slide, please.
Okay naman, kaya namin sa ubos.
So, the discussion on gender and humor explores how societal norms, gender roles, and linguistic behavior influence the way men and women use and understand humor in everyday interaction. Early research on humor often relied on androcentric assumption, meaning that what counted as funny was judged according to male standards. So, according to Crawford, 1995, that sometimes women is seen as not funny only because their kind of humor was being judged by male standards. So, but recent studies shows that men and women are actually quite similar when it comes to humor, but they just use it in a slight and different ways. Like what I have said earlier, that women uses humor to connect others or to share real life stories.
Kuha na ni.
And according to Crawford and Greasley 1991, men are more likely to enjoy hostiles and slapstick humor like teasing or physical jokes, while women often prefer anecdotal humor or sharing funny real life stories. Men like more structured or formula jokes, but women's humor is often more personal and emotional. So Jennifer Hay, 2000, studied humor among women friends in New Zealand and discovered that women often tell
Di ba
funny
ano na sila?
stories to create solidarity and a feeling of closeness. So women sometimes make fun of themselves in a light-hearted way to build connection and show confidence. Men, on the other hand, often use humor to challenge others or to show dominance. This means that humor can serve different social goals depending on gender. Men may use it to compete, while women use it to connect. So, in addition, Holmes et al. 2001 found that in the workplace conversation, women initiated more humor, especially in female only settings, and used humor to promote collaboration, whereas men used less humor in male only meetings. So, overall, studies shows that both men and women use humor but for different purposes. Men often use humor to show status, confidence, or cleverness, while women use it to share feelings, tell stories, and bring people together. That would be all for my report.
Hi everyone, good morning once again. So I will be the one to explain the functions of conversational humor. So in conversations, humor can make interactions more relaxed and friendly, helping to break tension or reduce conflict. It can also be used to show power, gain attention, and protect oneself from embarrassment. Because of these many uses, humor is described as multifunctional. It can serve different purposes depending on the situation and speaker's intention. So in short, humor is not only for entertainment. It is a strategic form of conversation that helps people navigate social life, build connections, and express themselves effectively. Now, according to Mary Crawford, 1995, she says that humor can introduce taboo topics, silence or subordinate others, create group solidarity, express hostility, educate, save face, or to avoid embarrassment, ingratiate or gain favor, and express care or empathy. Next. So, according also to Jennifer Hayes 1995, that there are three main functions of humor. First is to emphasize or to emphasize power differences. So, example of here would be humor can be used to assess dominance or maintain control in social interactions, often silencing or subordinating others. So example of this one is if we if we have classmates na very participative sa klase, and then we would mark them as bida-bida, and then ato ding mga classmates is mga tawa din sila. So they would take this type of humor as power difference. And then the second one would be to provide self-protection or coping or face saving. Also, last would be to create or maintain solidarity. Next. So, we have here the humor's role in emphasizing power differences. The example here is according to Griffin 1989. So the context is there are three women who are librarians that discussing their work. And then a woman's companion, interrupts with a sexist joke. So the joke is, what's the difference between a feminist and a binliner? So for those mga wala kabaloon sa binliner, a binliner is a trash bag basically. So ang iyang joke is, what's the difference between a feminist and a binliner? A binliner gets taken out once a week. So, the outcome of this joke is no laughter. Of course, wala sila nangatawa kaya it's very offensive and it's a sexist joke. And then all of the women fall silent. The man changes the topic and dominates conversation. So the punchline, a bin liner gets taken out once a week, implies that feminists never go out on dates or are undesirable, comparing them to trash bags that are at least get them out once a week. So therefore, the joke tries to mock feminists by suggesting they are unattractive or unwanted. So a sexist insult disguised as humor. Next. So we have here example number 2. This is according to Baxter 2002, the classroom incident. So the context here is during a class discussion, a student named Damien, a popular boy, pretends to fall off his chair, making everyone laugh. So the effect of this is she interrupts Rebecca, who was speaking seriously. Damien becomes the center of attention. Now, the analysis of this joke would be humor is used to gain attention or dominance, reflects male control and a desire to be in the limelight. Baxter calls this kind of humor disruptive humor because it often used by dominant male speakers to maintain power or to subordinate others. Next, the last example would be by Dupree 1998, the breast clinic interaction. So humor here is used for self-protection. The context of the situation would be women patients undergoing mammograms, a stressful, uncomfortable, and exposing medical procedure. So the line would be, sorry, I'm just standing here waiting for mother to tell me what to do. You're going to squash what I have left. So, ang patient nag-ingon ani sa nurse kay ang mammogram ang good is this is a procedure na x-rayhan bitaw ka. So basically, ang patient topless na siya, and then x-rayhan ang iyahang breast to examine kung naabay bukol or any indication nga naa siya breast cancer. So to avoid awkwardness sa situation, Naingon din ang patient nga, sorry, I'm just standing here waiting for mother to tell me what to do, or you're going to squash what I have left, pertaining dito sa iyahang breast nga gina-examine sa nurse. And the analysis of this example would be, humor is act as a defense mechanism against embarrassment and fear. So it reduces tension, manages anxiety, and creates solidarity between patient and medical staff. So Dopri explains that humor helps women to deal with physical discomfort, fear of diagnosis, and lastly would be the embarrassment of exposure. Next. So that would be discussed by Miss Cedrics.
All right, so now let's proceed to humor and solidarity. Jennifer Coates explore humor not as a weapon of dominance or exclusion, but as a bonding mechanism that strengthens interpersonal relationships. She argues that humor plays a crucial role in creating and maintaining solidarity, particularly in all female conversational groups. All right, next, please. So, according to Coates, there are several ways women use humor to strengthen solidarity by collaborating, sharing laughter, and supporting one another through humor. So, first is the cooperative nature of women's humor. So, women often build jokes together. One adds to another's story to strengthen connection and shared understanding. So they often co-construct jokes, each speaker building on the last person's line. Teasing is gentle and affectionate. For example, a friend might say, "Uy, ikaw gyud, hopeless romantic kaayo." Dili to insult, but to share love about love experiences. So it's a way of saying, dira na pud mi nagikan, we've all been there. So this collective creation makes everyone part of the fun, showing equality and empathy. Second is the laughter as a sign of solidarity. So shared laughter signals trust, belonging, and emotional closeness. So when a woman laugh at another's embarrassing story, that laughter means don't worry, it's okay, we get you. So it's not mockery but empathy. Women women use laughter to show understanding and comfort, like during our like kanang mga chika sessions about relationships or love life, and even kanang mga kabuang moments nato. Third is the humor as emotional work. Women use humor to comfort others, ease tension, and maintain harmony in groups. So if a topic turns too serious, a joke lightens the mood. So this shows emotional intelligence and care, a form of what social linguists call emotional labor. For instance, if a friend kay mag-share og kanang heartbreak niya nga story, another person or another woman might tease nga softly nga, ay sige lang, at least nakasave ka sa pang-date. Everyone loves helping her feel better, or humor here heals. Next is the contrast with male solidarity. Men's humor is often competitive or teasing, while women's humor is supportive and inclusive. So men bond through banter, women through understanding. In men's talk, insults or mock fights strengthen friendships. For example, moingon ang mga lalaki nga, "Way suko-suko ha, joke ra ni." While women's group maintain harmony through mutual support and shared laughter, like, "Okay ra na, day, sorry, day." Okay, so next is the inclusive power of humor. Jokes about shared experiences unite women, especially about daily life or challenges. So, women's humor is inclusive. It draws people in. Shared jokes and references created creates a sense of kami-kami ni, a small world of mutual understanding. Topic often revolve around everyday realities like love life, ang motherhood, girlhood. career, and even frustrations like ginuo ko kakapoy mag-budget. So these relatable jokes makes women feel seen and connected. So in conclusion, women's humor is empathetic, inclusive, and emotionally intelligent, a tools for a tool for healing and harmony, while men's humor, though also bonding, often revolves around asserting strength and hierarchy. Both form build solidarity but in different emotional languages. And that concludes the humor and solidarity. Thank you so much.
So now, in conclusion, humor has three main functions. First, it can show power differences. Serve Second, it serve as self-protection. And three, a third, help build or maintain solidarity within a group. However, these functions are not used in the same way by men and women. Men often use humor to show dominance or strength, engaging in teasing and verbal challenges as a way to display masculinity, and women often use it to build warmth and strengthen relationship. And that would be all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to our report. And I would like to sum up and to give an additional to what Miss uh, Torres said earlier. So overall, ilang gina-point out nga ang gender and humor kanang connected sa atong style sa pag-joke o sa pag-react sa jokes kay influence sa atong gender roles o sa relationship nato sa uban. Pero at the end of the day, humor unites people. Kay bisag unsa pa atong gender, ang tinuod nga tuyo sa katawa kay para mag-connect as a human beings. So tama. Okay. So that's it no sa among report and I hope na namoy ma-learn and I hope nga kaning in our daily life we put humor in a right place o gamito na to ang ato ang humor not to harm others especially sa ato ang opposite gender but to maintain a closeness and also a rapport to each and every one of us. And that's all. Thank you so much for listening.